What's going on YouTube? Today I got some shooting tips for you guys. This is actually my second time recording this. I'm doing a voiceover now because when I recorded it through my PlayStation, for some reason the audio never went through, so I'm gonna be bouncing around all over the place because I'm just going off the top now. So got some shooting tips for you guys, so let's get straight into it, I guess. The first tip I got for you guys, I'm gonna try to avoid all the stuff like boost and badges and all that stuff. So first tip I got for you guys is going in and getting your hotspots. So hotspots makes a major difference this year in your shooting. So with this build, this is a new build that I just made. So all I have is these lethal spots in the hot zones inside the arc. So I'm gonna put the picture up on the screen. It's a test from 2K Labs, and you can see all the percentages and everything, how much of a difference having hot zones makes and lethal zones. To get lethal zones, you go into the art of shooting facility with lethal shooter, and you just do those. I think every week you get one that pops up, so just go in and do those. Hot zones makes a major difference this year, so go in and get those done. Make sure that you got all that. And then to get hot zones, I believe you definitely can go to the street ball courts. You can go to My Career. You can go to the starting five right next to the rec, I believe, not rec, theater. It is that little starting five spot. And I would recommend doing that on offline modes, because if you do it online, you're gonna have a lot of inconsistent timings. It's just easier doing street ball courts. So the next tip I got for you guys, I'm already going into it on here, is your release speed on your jump shot. So it's the actual jump shot itself. Bring the release speed down. Try to get a lower release speed at the bar up the top while having an A+ release speed, because if you still have the fast release speed at the bottom with the A+ stats, as you bring your release speed down, your timing stability goes up. So with this jump shot, you see as it goes down, the lowest it can go is to with an A+ timing stability, and the highest release speed is only with a B. So you can see the major difference in timing stability, and that's how consistent your timing is going to be, and within load ups, all this other stuff. So bring your release speed down, find the little sweet spot. It takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of testing things out. So just go in, play around with it. And if you're 6'3" or 6'5" and under, and you have an 89 3-point shot, I would recommend using this jump shot. It's really good. This is the jump shot I started getting my stats up with. So I would go in, find a jump shot for you. If you're 6'5" through 6'10", I believe, I would put on T-Mac base. That gives you the ability just to really shoot over people. You can just go in and shoot right over people. That's one of the most consistent bases too. I'm not sure about upper releases, but that's if you're 6'5" through 6'10". If you're 6'5" and lower, or 6'4" and lower, high 3-pointer, I would throw this jump shot on. So bring your release speed down. Try to find one with an A+ release speed while also bringing this down so you get higher stability, because stability and release speed, in my opinion, are the ones that matter the most. But you can also sacrifice some release speed. I'm a small guard, especially with this build, so I'm trying to get my shot off quicker. So the quicker I get my shot off, the better, which is why I still like having the high release speed. So getting a high timing stability and release speed and defensive immunity for a small guard like me is extremely important. If you're like a spot up, you're not playing competitively, you're just playing casual in the rec, then you can bring your release speed down, but try to focus on timing stability and defensive immunity as well. But you should be taking open shots anyway. Also within the jump shots, there are many different settings in here. So mainly focus this year on visual cue. So you can see push, release, jump, and set point. Push is the default, which is what you have on if you never changed it. Push is right where the flick basically starts in the jump shot, and then release is where it's basically off the fingertips, where he's just releasing the ball. Jump is where his feet just leave the ground, and then set point is just where his feet are like released off the ground, where like his toes are up, and then jump is right where like he initiates the jump off the jump shot. So jump is the fastest, and then it goes to set point, then it goes to push, and then it goes to release. I use push. It's what feels most comfortable to me. It's basically how I get my visual cue. So this year I would focus mainly on your visual cue instead of thinking about timing. Also, make sure you turn your jump shot meter off. There is a lot of talk going about jump shot meter off and on. You're supposed to get a 20% boost off of having your meter off. 2K Labs tested it and said now it's only a 3% boost right now, but turn your jump shot meter off anyway. You shouldn't really have it on. Even if you turn it off and there's still only a 3% boost, it's still a boost. And it's also easier to have to see your visual cue when your jump shot meter's off anyway. So turn your jump shot meter off. It just helps in the long run. And if you're focusing only on timing, you're going to be struggling a lot. It all comes down to mainly visual cue. So I know with my jump shot, top of the head is where I want to release it, because this game is mainly visual cue instead of timing. I know it's a major change from what we've been using and been thinking about, but this year you really want to think visual cue instead of timing. There are so many things that go into timing. There's major latency between all game modes. Whether you have boost on, whether you have Gatorade, all these things go into timing your jump shots. So you get different load ups, you get all these different things that go into it. Also, speaking of latency, one thing you can do to help your latency and have more consistent jump shots, turning all this stuff off. Obviously, you want to keep your stamina bar on, you want to keep your shot feedback on, but everything else that you have on just is more stuff in the game to process. So you're going to have a higher latency. So a lot of comp players take a lot of this stuff off to keep their stamina bar, to keep their shot feedback. You can take your green thing off, your little green animation, all this other stuff you can turn off if you want to, but that's if you're struggling with latency still. I use a gaming monitor and I also have a LAN cable in, so I'm not even worried about latency right now, and I also got used to it, so I keep everything on just for the animations. I guess it just looks more natural to me just playing the video game. I'm not really worried about latency because I have that covered, but if you're still struggling with it, I would play around with all this stuff, take everything off, but make sure you keep shot feedback on so you can see your coverage and your release, whether it was very early, very late, whatever your timing is. And then going back to stuff like Gatorade and boost and all that, just make sure that you focus up on all that stuff, because all that stuff is extremely important and it all plays a factor in your timing. But if you're focusing on visual cue, that's also going to be the main key this year. So the last tip I got for you guys is going to be practicing your jump shot. If you're going to practice your jump shot, I would recommend using these little side courts over here, because this is the most consistent, most relatable to park. All these different game modes have different timings, whether you're looking at rec, pro-am, ante up, park, the starting five, my career, street ball. All these have different timings, so you just want to come in to one of these courts and practice your jump shot. Practicing this year, I can't speak. Practicing this year is extremely important because there's so many different timings. Even though they try to take some out, there's so many different timings where you really just want to find your visual cue. So I would recommend practicing on these beach courts on the side. It's just like you're playing in the park, because these count towards park games. So they're literally park sliders, park settings, park latency, everything is park related. So I would practice here. If you're going to practice somewhere else because you can't find one of these courts, one of the Ruffles courts or the Sporting Goods court, then I guess you can go to the Gatorade facility. And if you're going to the Gatorade facility, know there's a different timing in there, but still try to focus on visual cue. Practicing different timings in different locations. Even the Rise and Elite courts have different latency, so you just want to really focus on visual cue. You're going to struggle a lot this year. I was struggling. A lot of comp players are struggling, but they started to find it as they practice. So I would really stress practicing this year. So you see me missing shots right now because this is a new build and I was just playing in the rec. So rec and park has a whole different latency. So I just got to remember, focus on my visual cue, top of the head, release. There you see a green. So mainly this year, the main focus is to focus on your visual cue and not your timing, because visual cue this year is what your release is predicated on instead of your jump shot timing. It's not timing no more. You're gonna have 20,000 different timings if you try to focus on timing, whether you're dribbling, whether you're spot up, whether you get a load up, all this stuff, the defensive closing out. There's so many things that go into timing. You really just want to focus on visual cue, and I promise you your stats are going to go up higher just off focusing on visual cue rather than timing itself. Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this year it's a lot that goes into shooting. I've been struggling, but the more I've been practicing, especially with this build, this is a new build, so the more I've been practicing with this build, the easier shooting's become for me. So it's a lot of practice that goes into it. There's a lot of understanding how the game works. If you're just a casual, even if you're comp, I really feel bad for where the state of shooting is in this game. It's difficult being a point guard trying to pass people in the no squads rec, because you got to rely on people being able to shoot, and in this year shooting is extremely difficult for absolutely no reason. There's no consistency in anything, so there's a lot that goes into it. Don't feel bad if you're missing shots, because this year I wouldn't say it's the hardest, I would just say it's the most inconsistent it's ever been. There's been times where I've been playing games and the first right game I get on, I'll shoot 100%, and the next game I shoot 1 for 8. It just messes up on purpose. So you see I'm going into my stats. Like I said, I'm recording over this. The first record didn't go through, but you see my stats. I'm shooting 44 in the city. So I was in the theater yesterday playing around, and when I first made the build, I just went to the park and I tried to shoot, and terrible idea. You can't do that this year. So you see my city stats are dog water, 65 win percentage this season. But don't get me wrong, season 1 I had a 92 win percentage. Last 2K as a whole I hit legend and I had a 92 win percentage as well. So don't go off those stats. But you see me in the rec, which is what I've been playing mainly. I got a 60% 3, 72 win percentage. Pro-Am 3s, I'm shooting 55%, 70 win percentage again. I've barely been in here. I've been mainly in the rec, but as I get used to the shooting, it's all becoming easier. I've been focusing more on my visual cue, and it's becoming easier because it's more consistent when you focus on where to shoot and not when to shoot, when to release a square or X, whatever you shoot with, and instead of when to release it. It makes a big difference. Also, what makes a difference is boost, Gatorade. Like I said earlier, all this stuff is going to change the timing of when to release square or X. So if you're struggling with shooting one game and then, or if you're shooting fine one game and then you're struggling the next game, you might have ran out of Gatorade, you might have had boost on, you might have ran out. Me personally, I don't like using boost. I never have. I just don't like how it changes my release timing every year. That's always how I felt. But this year I've been focusing more on visual cues, so boosts have not been an issue with me. But having stamina and having Gatorade, if you're low on stamina and you're trying to take a jump shot, your timing is going to be lower, or slower. So your visual cue, you're going to have to release it later. So if you're releasing it in 1 second, you're going to have to release 1.5 seconds just because you have no stamina. So there's a lot that goes into it, and don't be upset if you're struggling with it. That's all I got for you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.